few moments.
That's okay.
Yeah. But yeah, it was a good weekend. How about you?
It was good. It was very it was good.
Good. Good, good, good. Few moments.
That's okay.
All right. Let's see. Okay, cool. So we're set up now so I can like view the chat if anybody happens to pop in there. But thank you so much, Victoria, for coming on my channel. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you. I'm excited.
Yeah. So Victoria and I met a couple years ago. I will never forget. The ingrained in my mind forever. March of 2019. So I guess it's been like 2.5 years now. And yeah, we met at an ayahuasca retreat, actually.
Yeah. It
Yeah.
feels like it was a lifetime ago.
Oh my goodness. Yes,
So
right.
much has happened since then.
Oh my gosh. Because I feel like I was kind of like on my, spiritual journey a little bit. But then when I did ayahuasca, it was just like, shoo.
That's
you know,
awesome.
that's what it felt like. And that was my first ayahuasca experience that weekend. Was that, I can't remember, was that your first or not?
That was my second one. I had done another one. I think it was maybe 2 or 3 months before. I don't remember. I think it
Okay.
was 2 months before I met you when I did the first one. Also a soul quest, yeah.
So you were already a little experienced.
Yeah, I felt like a pro.
Like I've done this.
Yes, I did. Oh, yes, that
Oh
was
goodness.
interesting.
Yeah, and I
E-
just,
Every journey is completely different, but
oh yeah.
you at least know what to expect, like how to move with the energy, and it becomes more like a teacher than just going to see things and allowing things. So
Hmm.
it
Yeah.
was a beautiful experience, yeah.
Yeah. And I remember you just had this like really beautiful energy. So yeah, I was drawn to your energy for sure. And
Thank
I don't
you.
even remember what we talked about when we were
I
there.
don't remember either.
I was probably like showing you. Oh yeah, I think at one point I was showing you that thing on my face. Remember? Because I had this big I wound up falling on the side of
Oh,
my
that's
face.
right.
Remember? And I had that thing underneath my eye. Oh my
With the
gosh.
latte.
Yeah, because of the rape. I was the girl with the messed up face.
Yeah, I do remember that. I
Yeah.
do remember talking about
Um,
that.
yeah, so it was the very first night, first time ever. And I remember like I drank my first cup and nothing really was happening. And sometimes that's normal, right? And because I had done like other psychedelics before. And so this wasn't like my first psychedelic experience, right? So I was like, okay, well, nothing's really happening. And I remember a few of I think maybe it was the volunteers or facilitators, I can't remember, but they said, well, if you drink the first cup and nothing is happening, when Taita offers the rape, go ahead and take some. It will push it through, it will accelerate it. And I said, okay. So I'm the first one in line. And there was someone else with me that was like translating because Taita's English is limited, and I don't know if he told him if it was my first time or not, but he gave me a lot. It was a lot. Even like because I sometimes use it now, like occasionally, it was a lot. And it was
It was
his
meant
own,
to be.
huh?
It was meant to be.
Yes, yes. He did that intentionally.
I
Um,
think so.
he's like, oh, you're not feeling anything, huh? Okay.
Right.
We'll fix that. Um, yeah, and he makes a very strong blend. I don't know if I actually have some of his too.
I
He
do
makes
too.
Yeah, he makes a very, very strong blend. And so it was so intense. And I remember it burned so much. And I was like, okay, so I took the rape and somebody helped me get back to my mat. And then all I wanted to do was lie down. And so I lied down on my mat. And then I remember my eyes were closed. And this is probably the first time that had ever happened to me where I was seeing things through my third eye with my eyes closed. It's the craziest experience. It's your eyes are closed, but you are seeing things, like you are seeing actual visuals.
Right.
How does that work? I don't know. But I was seeing like fractals and different like geometry patterns. And that only lasted for a few seconds, unfortunately, because I felt myself starting to get very sick. And I was like, oh, I think I'm going to throw up. And they had told us when you get ready to throw up, we want you to get on all fours. That's the best position to be in. So here I am going from like laying down on my back, trying to get myself up on all fours. And the rape, like it was so much rape that I lost like my motor control, and I just kind of like fell over. And in the tent that we were in, they had astroturf on the ground.
Yeah.
And so I wound up like falling like right here on my face, and they helped me get up and everything. But then I didn't even realize until later, probably 3 o'clock in the morning, when I'm finally starting to, come out of it a little bit, and I go inside and to go to the bathroom, and I look in the mirror and I'm like,
Oh my God.
whoa.
I do remember seeing all of that.
So ayahuasca, she is a very humbling medicine. She will definitely humble you. And
Absolutely.
that's when I learned how much to respect her.
What a lesson.
Yeah. But just kind of, what are you gonna do? Shit happens.
Go with it.
You just got to go with it. That's right. And I remember coming home, and then I can't remember how much longer after, but I remember I was struggling a little bit with my integration. And this is why, one of the reasons why I'm so passionate about integration, and why I want to do this work with people, is because that time coming back, especially after your first time, is like, oh my goodness, like now what do I do?
Right.
So I remember I was struggling, and I think I was feeling like very alone and isolated, and like no one understood. I couldn't really talk to anybody about this. They all thought I was crazy. And I
Right.
reached out to you, and you were like, have you heard of this lady, Dolores Cannon? Because, I really like to, when I'm struggling, I really like to listen to her, and she helps me. I said, no, I haven't. So I looked her up, and oh my goodness, that just like opened up this whole new world for me.
Right.
And I actually love, like, she comes up a lot now. She comes up a lot. And, I'll tell people, have you heard of Dolores Cannon?
She's a warrior. She's definitely an amazing spirit. So I'm so glad that people are like really tapping into her energy.
Yeah, and I'm glad that I'm sharing, that I'm vocalizing, because I'm finding in the people that I'm meeting and interacting with, most of them have not heard of her.
Right.
And I think more people should. So that's why we're talking about her now. Yeah, so do you want to tell us a little bit more about like Dolores Cannon and who she is?
Well, okay, so let me just start with, we all know, or anyone that knows Dolores knows that she invented quantum healing technique. And she's like the pioneer, like the gift of understanding how quantum healing works and the mechanics of it was channeled to her from the people that she was doing past life regression. So she was doing basic past life regression, and through the people that came to her, they light beings gave her over, the oversoul gave her the technique to take it to the next level and to really achieve healing through the quantum field. So she's like the grandmother, the founder of quantum healing technique. And from her, there have been other type of quantum healing techniques that have come from taking her foundation and experiencing other things. But she's like the main, the alpha and the omega of quantum healing. And through her, because of the work that she did, thousands and thousands of people have been healed from many different things. The way that I use it is a lot for spiritual work. There are people that are quantum healing practitioners that will focus more on the physical healing. But because I'm so much into the spiritual, for me, I tend to attract a lot of people. I'm a level 2 practitioner, so I tend to attract a lot of people that are more seeking help to understand the spiritual dimension, to connect with ancestors, to connect with deceased loved ones that just recently died, that transition, or to know their spirit guides, to know what cosmic family they come from, their origin. So for me, it's a lot of more on the mystical, the spiritual side. But for a lot of people, there are practitioners that can do all of these things. I just really putting intention out there to really attract the people that are more into the spiritual, because that's where I like to be most of the time.
Yeah, and so for the lay person, like for the person that like has no idea what any of this is, can you tell us a little bit more about what QHHT is?
So QHHT is quantum healing hypnosis technique. So basically it's like a past life regression, but we are able to tap into the subconscious, the higher self, the oversoul, and spirit guides or cosmic family members to come through and help us understand. Let me give you an example. I had a session with a beautiful woman. She is a healer, she's a priestess, and she went through a past life regression years ago. And she thought that the main reason why she was seeing that was because she was in that life, she was killed by her, struggled to death by her husband in the 1920s. And she thought that she saw that because she was killed because she was beautiful. And she's been dealing with weight issues all her life for no reason. Like, she is healthy, she exercises, but she always carries the extra weight. And she thought, oh, maybe that's why I was seeing that. Years later, when she finally met me, we went through the quantum healing, and we were able to tap into the luminarians that came through to help her and let her know, and took her back to the same life and said, this is not because you were beautiful. This is because you were tapping into your independence. You were working to heal and leave your husband. And because you were going to do that, he killed you. So the story that the soul picked up, even though the soul should know better, the memory imprint of being beautiful stayed with her. So in this life, she was trying to hold on the way so she could be safe.
Mm.
But now that she understands, she will be able to change that story, because we think the soul knows better, but sometimes the soul has an imprint that doesn't, the past life doesn't let the person here now really do the job that they're supposed to do and be who they really are supposed to be, because they have these memories from different past life that are still holding them now.
Yeah, that is so fascinating.
It
And
is.
because it's not just about this lifetime, it's also about like our ancestors' memories. Like we know that through like epigenetics research,
Mhm.
and it's the past lives
Right.
also. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It happens so often that whenever I have an issue or I see something in someone, I'm like, "Ooh, that's not even from childhood. Like, this is so
Right.
ingrained that this might be several generations down the line. It could be ancestors, you
Mm-hmm.
dealing with ancestor trauma that you have to heal, and that you were the chosen one to heal."
Yay. Just kidding.
Sign me
I mean, it sounds like such like a noble cause, like, I'm going to be the chain breaker for my ancestors and I will do it. But it's hard work.
It's very hard.
It's
Yeah.
very hard.
And
So,
sometimes it cannot be done in one generation because we don't have the right tools.
right.
And that's when techniques like quantum healing, Pachamama, that so
Mhm.
many different techniques. It's not just quantum healing. It
Yeah.
could be so many different things that make the different tools for someone to really grab different things in order for them to heal properly. I don't think it's just one. Like, I don't think
Right.
just drinking medicine is it. I don't think just doing quantum healing is it. It's
Hmm.
different things that we have to pull together to
Definitely.
really create like a cabinet. Like, okay, today I'm going to need to do that. So, no, today I'm going to need to do meditation. And maybe today I'm going to go and talk to the trees. And who knows?
Yeah, I call it my little toolkit. So I imagine like I have this little toolbox and like I open it up and I'm like, okay, like which one am I gonna take today, you know?
That's awesome.
Yeah, or like I'm wearing one of those, like the construction workers have those like utility belts that they wear.
Right.
I'm like, okay, like what do I need in my belt?
Exactly. That's exactly how I see it too, because it's not just one technique that is going to do it. There are different things that come through with the different techniques, the different medicines, even the different way that you put together, because everything is filtered through your consciousness. So maybe quantum healing is for you, maybe it's not.
Mhm,
Maybe ayahuasca is for you, maybe it's not. Maybe it's San Pedro, maybe it's just meditation, maybe
mhm.
it's just talking to other people like a coach, you know?
Yeah, we're all so unique in that way that, just because, ayahuasca, did things for us does not mean that it's for everyone. Or,
Right,
doesn't mean that like quantum healing is for everyone. Like,
exactly.
it's so important for the individual to listen to themselves and use their own intuition and discernment to
Right.
figure out what's right for them.
Right. Absolutely. I agree with that. I also, what I notice in quantum healing is that people think it's going to be a magic pill. There
Mm,
is no such thing. There is always work.
always. Always. I'm not sure if there's ever an end to that.
I don't know either.
uh,
Every time I think I'm done, there's come something else, and I'm like, oh shoot, it's coming back again. So,
Sometimes I'm like, man, I thought I learned that lesson already, but
yeah,
here it is again.
me too.
Yeah. And Dolores Cannon, I remember when I first started watching like some of the videos on YouTube, because she's, in physical body, she's no longer with us, but there are, past recordings of her. And I remember I was listening to the one, I don't know if this might be the one that I don't know if you've seen this one, but she's talking about the she talks a lot about like aliens
Oh yeah,
in this one, right?
you can see my
And
little.
and I remember my partner at the time like walked in and like was like kind of checking it out, and he's like, "Ooh, I don't like this. Like, what is she talking about?" It was like really triggering him.
Wow, there was something there for sure.
Yeah, and I'm just like totally just like, I'm like glued to the screen. I'm like, "Oh my gosh, this is so good." Yeah, I've only read one of her books because I think she has like 13 books.
She has a lot. Yeah, they have a publishing company, so they do tend to. Even now, there was a new one that came out from records that she had that she never used. And
Yeah,
there was
because
another one. I only read a few of her books. Besides the training that I received for my certifications, I only read three of the books. I find that sometimes if I'm going through something very specific, I go to certain of the sessions that she did and try to get a different perspective than, so it's almost like a little library. So it's not something that I just read once. I go back.
oh yeah, I mean, it's definitely not a book you can only read once because it's not that it's like dense or difficult to understand. I find it actually quite easy to understand when I read
Yeah.
it because I'm like, oh yeah, this like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, this is real. This makes sense, right? Because
Right.
it's like this ancient knowing inside of us that knows that. It's just a lot of information sometimes,
It is.
So yeah, definitely something to read more than once. But I read The Three Waves of Volunteers. That's the one that I read. But basically her books are transcripts of a lot
Yeah.
of her sessions. And then sometimes like she'll write a little bit in there, kind of like talking about like themes, or how things like tie together or like relate to each other. But yeah, it's just so fascinating because, and I don't know like how many, like the total number of sessions that she did for people, but she traveled all over the world and there were like waiting lists to see her. And she was getting very similar types of information from people all over the world. So she could go see someone in Egypt versus like Missouri, and they're telling her the same kinds of things. And
Mm-hmm.
this is stuff that's like not things from like the current life, and we're talking about when we go beyond past life regressions, we mean past the lifetimes here on earth. So we
Right.
have our soul comes into earth and we have all these lifetimes here on earth, but then where did we come from before that? So that's like how far and deep she was going, like what star systems and like where did we come from. And so that's how she knew that her information was true and like reliable, because she was getting similar information from people all over the world. I'm just like, oh my gosh, that is so fascinating. It's
Yeah.
just, it's incredible.
Right. Well, what happened is that at the end of each session, normally, unless somebody volunteered to become uh, almost like a researcher with her, that they go through the session to just pull information. So really what I think was happening is that at the end of the sessions, the people will not only allow access for the oversoul to come through to give her the next piece of information, but some of those people were very important because they had the knowledge of being in those lifetimes. So they had even more detail. So it was a combination of the oversoul coming through just to give her information, and people that somehow was attracted to her that had the information.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is crazy because it's like you are attracting, just like you are with your channel, we attract the people that come in contact with who we are,
Yeah.
because they are an extension of what we need.
Yeah. And that becomes easier the closer you get to who you actually are. That becomes easier and easier,
Right.
but we have to kind of do the work to find out who that is, because a lot of people don't even know. So we have to allow the old stuff to
Yes.
fall away,
Right.
right?
But it's hard to know because you have to do a lot of work. You have to do a lot of inner. It's almost like you have to study yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And I do have an issue with people that have gurus, like, because I really do believe that we are supposed to be our own gurus.
Yeah.
So when we analyze ourselves and everything becomes easier for us to understand what we need to let go of and how we need to align ourselves. So if I'm constantly analyzing myself, I'm going to know what triggered me about that person, why I didn't like about the way that the person looked, or the what the person did, or what the person didn't do. What is it? What's that the core of that? Like, what is the core? What is the root? So I can understand where the emotions come from. That's the only way that we can really align ourselves, I think, because just with, like I said, ayahuasca or this or that, that's just like one part that activates something in us. But then the rest is through integration and understanding the alignment that needs to happen. And that only comes when we are always analyzing and thinking and checking our emotions, checking how we reacted, how they reacted, and are we the mirror? You see what I'm saying? Like,
Absolutely.
we have to become our own gurus. And what I mean is, like, we have to analyze ourselves the way that we analyze other people, because, oh, why this person didn't do this and that, right? We're always judging, but we don't seem to judge ourselves the way that we should, um, with constructive feedback, not in a way that pulls us down.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it's so easy when you get triggered by someone to say, oh, that person's an asshole and, I'm just not going to talk to them anymore. Right. But
Yes.
that trigger is actually a gift for us to look at and see, okay, what is it about this? Because a lot of times, like you said, it is a mirror. And whatever the thing is that we're getting upset about is like, I'm not all the time. Sometimes it can be something within ourselves that we're not accepting of, right?
Right.
And so we can look at that trigger as a gift and say, okay, what is this here to teach me? And you're right, like what you were saying, where does it come from? Where is the core of this? You
Right.
know, when was the first time that I felt this way?
Right.
Maybe I was 3 years old and my mom did this or whatever it was.
Mm-hmm.
Get to, I like to call it the OG, the original. So
Yeah.
like what was like the core, right? When was the first time you felt like that? So understanding where that program and where the trigger, like where that originated from, because that awareness is
Right.
the very first step. Like we have to become aware and we have to go through self introspection and we do have to take personal responsibility. Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah, I do agree. I do have to say though that sometimes it's just giving, when people trigger us, sometimes it's just for us to really understand ourselves. It's
Mhm.
not that we might be the mirror, but that we need to understand
Yes.
where we need to set the boundaries.
Yes.
Because a lot of the times the issue has to deal with boundaries. Do we accept this behavior or no? And
Yes.
if we allow it because we want to be liked or for whatever reason, really what is the core? But is it that we are doing something wrong or that we need to set the boundaries? Because
Yes.
sometimes it's about boundaries.
Absolutely. So important. So thank you for saying that. And I think like with me, it was a matter of self-worth. And I did not believe I was worthy of um, better treatment. And so whatever I was allowing is because I didn't believe I was worthy of something better.
Mm.
And now, after having done the work, like I do believe, yes, I am worthy of a better experience. And okay, yeah, that person over there might still be projecting their unhealed wounds onto everybody else and not actually doing their own inner work, and that's fine. And I can still have compassion for them from a distance, from over
Right?
here, like,
Right.
because our energy is precious and who we share
Yes.
that with. And we have to be careful. And not to say like I don't want to sound like we should have these walls up, right, where we're like not letting people in. But it's more like understanding more about like what we want, like what kind of energies do we want to be around. I want to be around like positive like energies, people like myself, right? And yeah, that's a place that I've reached over the past couple of really over the past few months. I'd say this is a more recent thing, and really like setting those boundaries. And I've had like family members that I've had to set up those boundaries with, and I've had people, friends that I've had for a long time that I had to set up those boundaries with, that I just said, I can't do this anymore.
Right, right. And I don't know why I'm being reminded to sometimes the boundaries is with ourselves. What are we willing to allow and not allow? And then we have to be strong enough to say, no, 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 that's not okay anymore. And therefore, when somebody says something or does something, we know how to behave and interact, knowing that we come from a different perspective now. And sometimes it is full removal. Like sometimes it is goodbye. This is no longer working. Sometimes it's just a conversation,
Mm-hmm.
honest conversation.
Mm-hmm. And hopefully it can be a conversation, right?
Right,
But like I found with the people that I had to remove from my life, it was that I was trying to have those conversations, and the conversations were not being helpful. Like I was trying to ask for my needs, or I was trying to say, let people know like what a boundary of mine was. And you're right, a lot of times a boundary is something that we don't even have to verbalize. It's like, for example, I know that a certain friend of mine might be like draining of my energy. So I'm going to spend less time with that person. And you
right,
don't need to tell that person that. You
right,
know that for yourself and you do that. But sometimes there is a boundary that we need to say. Like for example, maybe you have a friend that keeps, poking fun at you, and you say, I really don't enjoy that. It doesn't make me feel good. And maybe that's something you verbalize.
right,
And the thing is, when you verbalize things that are important to you and the other person still can't respect that, or they're not able to do that for whatever reason, like that's when it becomes, maybe I need to cut this person out of my life,
right,
right?
right. Absolutely. I agree. Yes, completely.
So it's complex, it's complicated, and it really, it depends on the individual, on the two people. It depends on the relationship, the history, everything.
Right, right. But that can only come after somebody contemplates and analyzes, right? Otherwise, what are we removing? What are we setting boundaries?
Yeah. And it can be especially complicated when you're in a relationship, right? And one person is doing inner work and the other person is not. It's like,
Right.
yeah.
It's that's when things get really tough, and sometimes your growth makes people disappear from your life because you're growing and your energy are no longer at the same level. If the other person is not ready and you're going, eventually it just doesn't work out anymore.
Well, yeah, sometimes people disappear. And then sometimes, like what I was experiencing, is sometimes people actually get resentful about this and they see that you're going to this place. And I think deep down inside, they want to go there too, but they're not, but they can't, or they're choosing not to, or whatever it is,
Right, for whatever reason.
for whatever reason. Maybe that's just, they're on a different timeline, their journey is different, and that's
Mhm.
fine. But yeah, I was having some people in my life that were just getting resentful of the fact that I was going this way. um
That's
so
common, I think. I see that all the time in quantum healing and spiritual readings. It's so common that unless the other person is willing to go with you on this journey, you know these people have a limited time together. And obviously you don't want to say anything because it's like, you don't want to be the bearer of bad news, but you can see the big lab in how much this person has grown and how this person feels almost vengeful sometimes, resentful and angry and like aloof, and it's just so much happening. And there's limited time unless a person decides to really jump on the wagon. It's going to be very hard for a relationship to stay at the same level, including with family members. I'm not talking just about romantic relationships. I know my family had to adjust at my level of craziness, and for a
yeah.
while it was very shocking. For the first few years it was very shocking for them to for me to start opening up about what I was experiencing in childhood and stuff like that. They thought that I was crazy because it was a shock to them.
Right. Yeah. And when I say relationship, I mean any relationship, family, friendships, romantic, any relationship, because I think so often we just tend to think like romantic,
Right.
but like especially with like our family, like we're intimate with our family. We're intimate also with our friends in different,
Yes.
different ways.
Right.
But yeah,
Friends disappear left and right. Like, that's why it's so important to have a coach or a group that you feel like you can belong to, because you're going to need that. You're going to need to be able to express yourself to someone. Otherwise, it can really drive you crazy when you're going through this process of awakening or becoming who you really are. Not just awakening, because awakening could have been 10 years ago. But are you walking the path that you're supposed to walk? And when you start walking that path, people, they just disappear left and right. And then you just feel so lonely.
yes, it can feel very, very lonely. And that's one of the reasons why I was, so prompted to like create this channel, was because I want to have these conversations and share them with the world, because I know how lonely it can feel. And so I want people to know that you're not alone, and there is support available. And support is so, so important, whether it is a therapist, whether it's a coach, it could be a friend,
Mm.
anyone, like anyone who is actually able to hold space for you.
Right,
A lot of people throw that term around, hold space. Like, what does that mean? Holding space means being present with someone without any judgment,
right,
and without trying to give them advice, without trying to fix it, just being present with that person for what they're experiencing. And that can be difficult for a lot of people to do, especially if they have not been present with themselves yet, because people can only meet you to the level where they've met themselves,
right.
right? So yeah, not everybody is capable of doing that. So having at least one person in your life that can hold space for you is vitally important.
Absolutely. And I will say that more than one, because there will be times when you actually burn down that person too,
Yes.
because you have so much that you're working on.
Yeah.
I have people that they need to talk to someone every day.
Yeah.
These are people, some of these people are people that are going through some type of program with me, or that just became friends from some Facebook group. And when they were going through their main challenge, they were communicating often, and every day there will be something else. Eventually, because it's so much, you might not have access to that person, because it's only so much that you can give before you feel like I'm giving all the time. So you do have to balance out the energies by
Mhm.
being respectful of the people that are holding space for you, which
Yeah.
is why I think it's important to have a group, like some sort of group where it becomes not only I give you my energy and I hope that you can face me, but I also hold space for you, and I hope that I can help you too.
Yes, it has to be reciprocal, definitely.
Right,
That's like what energy exchange is. And that's one
right,
of the universal laws, right? Is that, we can't just keep on taking. Like, we also have to give. It has to be like balanced.
yeah,
And I would highly suggest for people who are, processing through a lot of traumas, childhood trauma specifically, to work with someone like a therapist, trained in dealing with that type of with that subject, because that can sometimes be a lot for people to handle, especially if the
right.
trauma is very severe.
So I agree. I think for people that are doing medicine, that are doing other type of spiritual work, a regular therapist will be able to do so much. So you do need the other person like you that can give them a different perspective of things, because the therapist is only going to meet them halfway, and then they're going to need the other people that are open to everything else, that are going to help them put two and two together.
Yeah, because I remember I was seeing a therapist at the time when I was, when I came to ayahuasca for the first time. And I remember coming back and sharing my experience with her. And she was very supportive, but she just could not understand some of what I was talking about, because um you're traveling to other dimensions.
Yeah.
So it would be like, if I was about to travel to Peru and I came to you and I said, I have some questions about Peru. You said, "Oh, I've been to Peru. I can talk to you about it." But I would not go to like another friend who's not even been to Peru. Like, why would I ask them about Peru, right? So it's like that. Traveling to these different dimensions is traveling. So if that person hasn't been there, you're not going to ask them about it, right? They're not going to know about it. They're not going to be able to support you in that way. And I think also there are certain types of experiences that we can have that are different than our everyday experiences, and people who have not had these types of experiences might think you're crazy.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's the number one thing. Anyone that has a medicine that talks to their regular friends, they don't understand because they haven't done it. How can we expect them to when they haven't experienced that?
Mhm.
And even when we both have done medicine, but if I tell you some of my experiences, you will think I'm crazy. And if you tell me some of your experiences, I might be like, mm-hmm, because it's different. Everybody's so different. But the fact that we know that we have traveled to other places, other dimensions, we at least have the foundation.
Yeah.
And that's the important part. So when you come to me, I'm open. But
Mhm.
if I haven't done that, I will be completely shut off to the idea that you're really crazy, right? Like I might have a doubt if you tell me something crazy. I'll be like, I don't know, but I'll be open to it because I know I have done crazy stuff in the medicine. So it's easier for me to open up the window and peek and see what do you have to say, and do I believe you? Do you see what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
some sort of similar foundation where we understand we have been to the same, even though we might express it differently because everybody has our filter of consciousness.
Right.
So we experience things differently, right?
Yeah.
What might be crazy to you might not be crazy to me, and vice versa.
Yeah. There are literally infinite realities.
Right.
There are, so if somebody came to me and said, I see fairies, maybe before, like, maybe several years ago, I'd be like, oh, pfft, okay, whatever. But now I'm like, oh, that's
Talk
really,
about
really cool. I wish I could see fairies. I'm kind of like, just because I can't see something doesn't mean that it's not real for someone else, or doesn't mean that it's not real.
right.
Maybe they can just see things that I can't. And we talk about, like, some people have certain gifts. Like,
Right.
you have certain gifts that other people don't have.
Right. I think it's and also when we go through different, even in meditation, we can see all of this. So when you're talking about your experiences in your dreams and visions and clairaudience experience and like a deep knowing, and sometimes you want to talk to someone about that, and you're like, who do I go that can help me put these two and two together? It's the same thing. It doesn't have to be with medicine. You might be going through a lot of activations in your dream state, meditation, or even when you're flowing, you might be tapping into some crazy stuff. And if you don't have someone to talk to about it, you almost put it in the back and you don't realize how important it is.
Yeah, I'd say talking to someone about it, journaling can be very good. I'd say that journaling is the next best thing to therapy. Like, because I know therapy, like getting a therapist, is not accessible for everyone.
It can be
So
expensive, yeah.
yeah, it can be very expensive. Maybe they don't have health insurance, like whatever the situation is. So I'd say journaling is the next best thing you can do. Writing,
Agree.
writing about it. Yeah. And that's all part of the integration.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And integration is a lifelong process.
It doesn't end.
No, definitely think that, especially if it's like your first time with the plant medicine, that first is going to be one of the most difficult. But I've also had difficult integration on other times too, beyond my first time. So after you do any type of medicine like that, that's altering your consciousness, um, that's like kind of the critical integration time. And then yes, we continue to integrate after that. But I feel like that's kind of when the medicine is like most alive in
Mhm.
your body because it like
Right.
lingers, you know? So yeah, so working with a coach or, a therapist who also has the plant medicine experience, or just journaling or joining a group, or having the support of a friend who also had, understands, like, there's so many different avenues, but just
Right.
setting yourself up with some kind of support is just so important.
Absolutely.
So important. Yeah. So tell about what you're up to these days, and what you're doing, what you're working on. And
You were freezing for a little bit.
oh, sorry. um, I'll repeat it. I was asking, tell us a little bit more about what you're up to these days, and what you're working on.
Sure. So I haven't slept for 3 days. I've been meditating for 3 days. So I am,
Wow.
but there is a reason why. I was working on channeling um, information about uh, information for the Awakening the Healer program that I have. Um, and it's been very tiring because it had to be work that I needed to get done because it triggered something in me. And when it triggered something in me, I went to work right away. So that's why my energy is a little low. But I am um, working on the Awakening the Healer program, which is a channel program that came through a group of very highly ascended beings, and is to help anyone that is ready to wake up any of their spiritual abilities, any of the spiritual gifts that they have. And it has been a beautiful time for the first 8 people that sign up. It's a lot of work, but there is so much, there has been such an expansion of consciousness that is, it really is tremendously, like, to the level that I didn't expect to in such a short time. So at the same time, it's exciting, but it's tiring because to channel all of that information is a little challenging sometimes because I have to be very disciplined about, the channeling and making sure that I have the notes, and it's a lot of work. Let me put it like that. But it's a gift because I feel like I have the program is supposed to be for those that are ready, but I feel like I'm getting the most benefits out of this. Like, I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. So I feel so blessed and grateful, and just like so happy to have the first 8 people that are doing this program. And these are people, some of them have never even done any medicine, any quantum healing, anything. They just found me on YouTube or somebody told them about it and they decided to do it. And it's a 1 year program. So it's going to be a lot of work. By the time we're done, I'm going to be a new person too. And they're going to be a new person too. So I'm really happy and excited about that. But I'm also working on my regular business, which is the Soul Healing Tribe, where I offer different spiritual bath and Akashic reading and all of that stuff. And I'm just taking it all in, like being present, being at the moment, and grateful and tired and everything at the same time.
Yeah, I feel that. And you guys, her Akashic readings are spot on, by the way. She did one for me. It was great. So these services, these are all things that you can do like remotely with people, right?
Yeah, the quantum healing, there is beyond quantum healing, which is more flexible than quantum healing, the foundational QHHT. Beyond quantum healing is more flexible and can be done over the internet. I had had beautiful, powerful sessions over the internet, which is mind blowing because I didn't expect it to be that powerful. But at the same time, I love it when someone can come to my little space here because there is a connection like nothing else. It's almost like we become one, and I can ride with you on this journey. On the internet, I have to work really hard to go on this journey because I'm an empath. I have my gifts, and they're all being used when the quantum healing is happening, or when a spiritual reading is happening, or a Akashic reading, whatever it is. But when there is a connection, and I can talk to someone and connect and see them in person, I don't know, something magical happens. I love it. Like the online sessions are great. I love them. But I love the in person because I don't know, I just feel the magic.
Yeah, no, in person is always better. In person is always better for everyone. And that's one challenge during person things anymore. And I really do miss that.
Right, right. And I honestly like it's not that it doesn't work because I know for a fact it works. I've been doing it. I just really love to do the core quantum healing whenever possible. But there are people that they cannot come to Florida. I mean, expensive. And then you have to get a hotel room, and then you have to like leave work for like a couple of days. So I understand all of that. And it's okay. I just really love when I can connect with someone in person because it's almost like a major energy exchange happens, and I feel so connected to the person in a way that I know for a fact. If you're like, for example, I just did a session for someone, and she's a channeler. So she was channeling different spirits that I know, and I felt it, and I was like, oh my God, I'm about to go on a trance. And I can't because I have to be present. But it was so magical, and her energy and the way she moved, and I was like, oh, I think I'm in love. Like I was having a moment.
Oh my gosh. Yes,
It
that's
was
so
beautiful.
beautiful. And it's so beautiful to like witness you and hear you talk about that because you just light up and I can tell that you're living your purpose. You're
Yeah, I
like,
love it. I love to see when people come out of a session and something changes. The way
mhm.
they look, the way they feel. They might look tired because they most of the time they cry a lot, but there something in their eyes change. And then the magic really happens weeks later when they're like, I didn't believe, and this is really happening, and I am a different person now. And I love that. Like it's just
Wow. That's so magical. And then you think about like how that also ripples out into the world because it's not just them, it's like their
their
family and
family.
friends are going to see that too and notice that.
Right. Right. It's magical. It really is magical.
That's so beautiful. And for people that are interested in working with you in person, you're in South Florida, right?
Yeah, my little sacred space is in Green Acres, Florida, which is in West Palm Beach.
West Palm Beach.
Yeah, West Palm Beach.
Okay. Where's the closest airport to there? Is that Fort Lauderdale, Miami?
Palm Beach International.
Oh, okay. You have your own airport too.
I know it's a tiny little one, but it works.
Perfect. Perfect though. So people can just, yeah, but they could fly in and come work with you if they wanted to.
Some
Well,
people,
I'm gonna see if I can come down and see you too at some point.
yeah, that'll be great.
They would be like reunion.
Family reunion in the house.
Yeah. Oh man. Well, I have appreciated your energy so much. I'm so honored and grateful that you came on my channel and that you shared your energy and your presence with us and all your wisdom. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it too.
Yeah. And for people that want to get in touch with you, what's the best way for people to get in touch with you?
soulhealingtribe.com will be the best way. And my calendar is there and all the things that I do is there. I do tend to have a waiting list sometimes just because each session is so long that I cannot book multiple people in one day. So it's very private, very, one day at a time type of work.
Awesome. Well,
Thank
I
you.
will post all the links to, how to get in touch with Victoria. I'll put that all in the description. But yeah, we'll wrap up and thank you so much again for being here. Yeah, it was a pleasure.
Thank you.
Okay.